Good morning, students. Welcome to the second part of chapter 7, Java Basics. Before we continue, very quickly, we will go through what we did in part 1. We discussed about the history of the Java. It is developed by Sun Microsystem, but now remember it is taken over by Oracle. Java Development Kit we discussed. We saw how compilation process of Java is done and what is it that makes Java program platform independent. Then Java Basics, we saw that it is made up of classes and there has to be one class where there is main method. We saw the different extension of Java file, its class file, and how we can execute the Java. We saw a simple program of Java, very simple program of Java. We saw another basics, like we also discussed about cited text editor and for commands which are used in cited text editor. This is very important to remember, that is Java data types, 8 primitive data types: byte, short, integer, long, float, double, character and boolean. First 4 can hold only integer number, only the ranges are different. Byte will have very small range and long will have the biggest range. Float and double can hold any number with decimal point and without decimal point. Again, the size or the range is different. Character can hold any single character written within single inverted comma, and boolean can hold any of the value from true or false. Java variables are the things which remembers the value and it is stored in the computer, so we can easily refer to it throughout the program. Variable names are case sensitive, that also we need to remember. Literals, there are 4 types of literal: numeric literal, boolean literal, character literal and string literal. Numeric literal, again there are 2 types, integer and real. And integer literal can also be represented using 4 different methods, either using binary, should be preceded by 0b, using octal, should be preceded by 0, using decimal as normal we are writing, that is without leading any 0 or any symbol, and with hexadecimal written with the preceding 0x. So that is the 4 different number system. Real number has 2 types of representation, standard and scientific, wherein scientific E is exponent, that is 10 raised to. Comments in Java, there are 3 types of comment: single line, multi-line and documentation comment. Now we'll see the new topics, and that is operators in Java. Java provides many different types of operators, and operators are a special symbol which are used to build an expression. When we want to write an expression, we need some operators to be used. Java supports many different types of operators like arithmetic operators, plus, minus, multiplication, division, and the last one, percentage sign, is called modulo operator. It is used to find remainder. Comparison operators are like equality, not equality, greater, less, greater equal and less equal. Observe that equality is indicated by double equal sign. Just to avoid confusion between assignment and comparison, assignment is single equal and comparison is double equal. Logical operators, there are 4 logical operators: AND, which is indicated by double AND, OR, which is indicated by double vertical line, that is called pipe, exclusive OR, which is indicated by caret sign, and NOT, that is exclamation sign. Conditional operator, that is question mark and colon together makes one operator, that is conditional operator. Assignment operator, the most commonly used operator is assignment operator, indicated by equal sign. Increment and decrement operators, that is plus plus and minus minus. And shorthand operator, the syntax of shorthand operator is arithmetic operator followed by assignment operator, that is plus equal to, minus equal to, multiply equal to, divide equal to and percentage equal to. Let us see in detail. Percentage is used to find remainder, as I said. Rest to you know, plus, minus, multiplication and division. So if you use percentage, it does division, but answer it gives is the remainder. So if I say 17 percentage 5, I will get 2. I will not get 3. 5 3s are 15. That is division, but the remainder is 17 minus 15, 2. So that percentage gives you reminder. Comparison operator, that is equal, not equal and all this, they always gives answer in true or false, that is Boolean answer. You know that in life also, when we say any sentence in English where there is comparison used, this building is taller than that building. So either true or false. I got less marks than you. So either true or false. So comparison operator always gives Boolean answer. Logical AND. You must have studied gates, logic gates in physics. So here it is same. Logical AND. In logical AND or an exclusive OR, they are used to combine multiple conditions together. So when you combine two conditions, if both the conditions are true, then only the final statement is true. Rest it is false. So T and T is T. Rest it is false. So it's something like, if I give a condition that tomorrow you bring physics and chemistry, so it will be true when you bring both the textbook. If you bring one of them, it is false. If you don't bring any one of them, it is false. For logical or false is false and rest is true. So if I say tomorrow you bring either physics or chemistry textbook, then it is only false when you don't bring any one of them. If you bring only physics, you are true. If you bring only chemistry, it is true. If you bring both, it is true. But if you don't bring any one of them, it is false. Exclusive OR is a bit different. Exclusive OR says then when both the condition answers opposite, it is true, and when both the condition answers same, it is false. So true exclusive OR false is true, and false exclusive OR true is true. But true or exclusive OR true is false, and false exclusive false is false. So if I say tomorrow you bring physics exclusive or chemistry, that means you are supposed to bring any one of them. If you bring both of them, it is false. And if you bring none of them, it is false. If you bring only physics, it is true. If you bring only chemistry, then only it is true. But if you bring both of them, it is false when you combine condition using exclusive OR. Conditional operator, that is question mark and colon, is like if then else. It is exactly like if then else. We write condition before question mark, then after question mark, else after colon. So not much used in programming, because most of the programming language has got if then else statement. So conditional operators are not much used. Plus plus and minus minus operator, that is increment and decrement operator, it has two variants: pre-increment and post-increment, and pre-decrement and post-decrement. Now what is that? It is same as your prepaid mobile and post-paid mobile. Prepaid mobile, we pay first and then we use the services. Post-paid mobile, we use the services first and then we pay. So here also it is like this. See, two examples are there. If variable a is equal to 5, variable b is equal to 3, then a plus 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 minus minus b. See, that is increment operator and decrement operator. But increment is post increment, because plus plus is written after a, whereas decrement is pre-decrement because it is written before b, minus minus b. So if I say a plus 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 minus minus b will give me 7, because a is 5 only, it will not become 6 because it is post increment. But pre-decrement, b is pre-decrement, so b will become 2. Before we do the calculation, b becomes 2 from 3. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Second example, the same. If a is equal to 5, b is equal to 3, then a plus 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 b minus minus. Now here both are post. Increment is post and decrement is also post. So what it will give? It will give you 8, because a is 5, b is 3, then 8. Once this statement is settled down, afterward a will become 6 and b will become 2. So that is pre-increment and post-increment, pre-decrement and post-decrement. In pre, value will increase first or decrease first and then it will be used in the expression. In post, value first will be used in the expression and then it will be increased or decreased. Control structures. The statement that enables to control the flow of the program execution is considered as control structures. They are mainly used to divert the flow of the program. Normally program flow goes sequentially, first statement, second statement and so on. But somewhere if you want to divert that flow, we use control structures. And there are two types of control structures in most of the programming languages. One is branches and another is loops. Branches, there are two types of branches in programming. One is if and another is switch statement. They are used to choose two or more possible courses of action and so also called selective structure. Branches is also called decisive structure or selective structures. Whereas loops, there are three types of loops. Loops are used to do something again and again. So there are three types of loop: for loop, while loop and do while loop. They are used to repeat a sequence of statements over and over until certain conditions are reached. So branches and loops are the two control structures. Block of statement. A block of statement is a group of statements enclosed within a pair of curly bracket. So when you want to group certain statements together so that whenever they are executed, they all will get executed together. So that grouping can be done using set of curly bracket. So what are the main uses of creating block? So to group a sequence of statements into one unit, to group logically related statements, those statements which are related to each other in such a way that if one statement is executed, rest are also supposed to get executed. And to create a variable with local scope. That will come in 8th chapter. But local scope means if I create a variable within a block, then that variable is only available within that block, not outside that block. So that is a local scope. Let us see now if statement. The if statement when used enables to take one of two alternative courses of action depending on whether the condition, that is Boolean expression, results in true or false. It is also known as branching or decisive statement or selective statement. So here is the example: if and then Boolean expression. For example, if a greater than 5. So if actually a is greater than 5, condition will become true and it will execute statements 1, block of statements 1. And if a is not greater than 5, it will execute block of statements 2, that is else part. So if condition is true, it will go in the first block of statement, and if condition is false, it will go to second block of statements. Switch on the other hand, so there is a limitation of if. If can check only such conditions where there are only two possible answers, true or false. But if there are certain conditions where there can be more than two possible answers. Suppose somebody asks you, are you studying? Then there can be only two answers, yes or no. But if somebody asks you, which standard do you study in? So there can be many possible answers. So how to handle such? So for that we have switch statement. A switch statement is used when there are many alternative actions to be taken depending upon the value of a variable or expression. So for example, switch and text expression. But here you need to remember this text expression which you write with switch should be of type byte, short, integer or character. It cannot be of long, float, double or boolean. So for example, we say switch and the text expression, if the expression gives case 1, that first case, it will execute all those statements and break. So a switch statement will break. Second case with another constant value. So if I say switch and standard, suppose variable is standard. So if the value of variable standard is 1, it will go in block 1. If it is 2, it will go in block 2. If it is 3, it will go in block 3 and so on. There has to be a default option also, because if somebody enters something invalid, you are asking for a standard, enter your standard. And if somebody enters a standard as 75, Now you know that there is no standard like 75. There are only standard like 1 to 12. So that will go in default and it will do whatever statements you have written over there. So it is almost like if then else. The only difference is here you have multiple options to be checked. For loop. Now we'll see all the three loops. The first one is for loop. When number of repetitions, that is iterations, are predetermined, it is suppose it is fixed that you want to repeat these statements for 10 times or 15 times, then we use for loop. The loop structure is for loop structure is for into bracket we have three expressions, expression 1 semicolon, expression 2 semicolon, and expression 3, and then block of statements. Expression 1 is an initializer. It decides that from where loop will start. Expression 2 is a condition that decides that when loop will stop. And expression 3 is an iterator that will decide that every time what changes will be done in the value of the initializer. All these three expressions are optional. So even if you write 4 into bracket only 2 semicolon is valid. If you don't write anything, it will result in infinite loop. So there has to be something in that which will stop that for loop at certain point of time. For loop is called entry controlled loop. So entry control means it checks the condition first and then lets you go in the loop. So this is an example of for loop. For expression 1, expression 2, expression 3. So let us see the example down. For n is equal to 1, that is initializer. We are initializing variable n with value 1. N less than or equal to 10 is the condition which decides that till the value of n is less than or equal to 10, loop will continue. Then once it becomes greater than 10, loop will end. And n plus plus will deciding that every time value of n will increase by 1. It is increment operator. So if n is 1, next time it will become 2. Then it will become 3 and so on. And then we say system.out.println n. So it will print the value of n every time. So this program will print number 1 to 10. Similarly, while and do while loops. While is again like for, it is entry controlled or pre-test loop. Here it is possible that statements in the loop are not executed at all if the condition is false in the beginning. So let us see the syntax of while. That is while we write test expression and then within curly bracket we write block of statements. Do while is exit control or post test. It is not text. The typing mistake is there. It is exit control or post test loop. Here the statements in the loop are executed at least once. एक बार तो execute थसे ने थसे even if condition is wrong, because while entering the loop nothing is being checked, as you can see in the syntax. Both while and do while repeats the loop till the condition, that is the test expression, is true, and this is the format. Let us see one example. Same example we will see which we have seen with 4 to print numbers from 1 to 10. So here now n is equal to 1 is the outside of the while loop, so it is not part of while loop. It starts with while n less than or equal to 10. Now remember here if I give initially value of n is equal to 1 instead of it is n is equal to 39, then loop will never execute, because right in the beginning 39 is not less than or equal to 10, so it will not allow you to go inside the loop. But if it is true, as in this case n is equal to 1, so it goes inside, executes all the statements, and there has to be one statement which changes the value of n, which is n is equal to n plus 1, which will increase the value of n by 1. Similarly, on other side, if you see the example of do while, there also n is equal to 1 is outside the do while, it's not part of do while loop. Do statements n plus plus and while is at the end. Here what happens? Even if the value of n is 39, it will at least once will go inside the loop, execute all the statements, and then while exiting the loop, it will check n is less than or equal to 10. No, it is not. So next time it will not go, but at least it will execute this loop one time. So that is the basic difference between while and do while. While if initially the condition itself is false, loop will not get executed at all. Whereas in do while, even if condition is false, loop will get executed at least one time. So that is while loop and do while loop. I have intentionally written in both the program that increment in two different ways so that you will understand it. In while I have written n is equal to n plus 1, and in do while I have written n plus plus. Both has got the same meaning. Only thing is n is equal to n plus 1 is a normal method. N plus plus is where I have used increment operator. So you can follow any of this method. Break and continue statements. The break statement is used to transfer the control outside the switch or a loop structure. To send the control out of the loop, either for or while or do while, or outside switch statement, we use break. When break is used in switch structure, it skips all the following statements and control is transferred at the first statement after the end of the switch statement. As in this case, let's come here and see that break. If you see, break is written everywhere. Why? Because once a condition is satisfied, we don't want to go for checking other condition because there can be only one condition which is true. So that is why everywhere there is break. If I remove break, it will keep on going in other case until it finds break. So break is a must. So break is for sending the control outside the switch statement. In a loop, break is used to exit the loop. Whereas in continue statement is used to skip the following statements, that is the next statements after continue. It will skip all those and it will start the loop from the beginning. So sometimes it happens that for certain value we don't want to execute the rest of the statements of the program and we want again to start from the next repetition. So that is continue statement. So break and continue are little different. Break will absolutely break the loop, so no repetition will be done once the break statement is encountered, whereas continue will skip only one repetition, but the next repetition again it will continue or it will keep on executing. Nested loops are the loop within another loop. When you write a loop within another loop, it is called nested loop. So you may write for loop within do loop. You may write while loop within for loop. You can combine any loop. Even you can write for loop within another for loop. So that is called nesting of the loops. Labeled loop and labeled break. Now when we are nesting loops and we are using break statement within loop, then for program it becomes difficult to understand that what we want to break or which loop we want to break. So in nested loop, break statement breaks the nearest loop. When break is encountered, it will break only the nearest loop. But if we want to break the entire loop structure, then we need to use labeled loop and labeled break. So to control which loop to break and which to iterate, we can use labeled loop. To use labeled loop, add a label followed by a colon sign before the loop. As you can see in the first line on the right hand side program, for loop has been given a label and that label name is out. It can be any name. So out is the name of the label of the for loop, and you can see the colon sign also. And where there is a break statement, as you can see, it is pointed with arrow. Rather saying only break, we have said break out. See, if I write only break, it will break only the while loop. But if I say break out, it will search for that loop which is labeled as out, and that particular loop will break. So the outer loop will break, and when outer loop is broken, inner loop automatically breaks. So then add this label after the keyword break or continue to transfer control elsewhere other than enclosing loop. So that is labeled loop and labeled break. I hope you understood this. You need to listen to this video minimum 2-3 times to understand the basic concept of the programming of Java with all these things. Till we don't meet in person, continue with this online classes. Thank you very much.